What is up, dudes? I hope you guys are ready for a totally radical, tubular, bodacious acapella show today, this afternoon. We've got a lot to talk about. We are going to talk about your favorite mutant amphibians in a half shell, our ninja friends. Talk about the turtles, the Ninja Turtles. We're going to be doing the biggest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stream. We're going to talk about everything. We had some friends, Cannoli Sasquatch, they did a TMNT original Turtles Part 1 stream. That was cool. I'm going to try to cram all fucking 20 iterations of the Turtles into one massive, drunken, pizza-fueled discussion. We're going to have Northern English Bastard from across the seas joining us. We're going to have Blue Collar Loser and hopefully a few other people. I don't know. The links are out there. Let's open this. We've got my lovely wallpaper, bunch of turtles in a podcast. And, of course, we have another early PM stream, 4 o'clock PM here in Texas. We're doing this because, once again, 2 streams in a row. We got from England, jolly old England, Mr. Northern English Bastard. How are you, friend?
Evening. How are you?
Fantastic. Been working my butt off, absorbing all this Turtles information.
Hell of a week. Been hell of a week with it.
There have been worse jobs. You know, like when I was asked to watch the Little Mermaid movie, you know, to talk about it, that was grueling. But watching 20 Ninja Turtles things, like that was also grueling, but it was fun.
There's so much these days. There's just so many interpretations now. It's hard to catch them all up in such a short time.
I don't want to spoil which ones, but I mean, there was at least about 5 or 6 Turtles iterations I had never heard of. Hey, you wore some sunglasses too, Collar. How you doing?
I just got this. So has the tag on it right here from freaking Walmart.
Yeah, you wore. I didn't even tell you to wear a shirt, brother. Hell yeah!
Plus, I got pizza too.
What kind of pizza did you get, and where'd you get it from? You're in New York. Explain the pizza situation there.
A corner store. I just grabbed the friggin' was it chicken and broccoli one, and then some
at the corner store.
Yeah,
chicken and broccoli.
I was at a time because I was going to Little Caesars.
What are you talking about? You're speaking. I thought you were about to tell me. Oh, I got this traditional fat New York slice. Yeah, because like one of my earliest movie theaters memories is associated with Turtles. Because I would say my first memory ever that I can remember in the movie theater, it would have been 1989 seeing Batman. And I didn't remember seeing the movie. I remember going into the movie. There's like a red lobby with all the red lights, you know, low. It's like red walls with like low lighting. So the room looks dark red and you're walking into this like dark auditorium. And I remember just holding this Batman doll, like not an action figure, but a doll. And that was like probably my earliest movie theater memory. But one of my second earliest would have been 1990, the following year, seeing this first Ninja Turtles movie. I distinctly remember the movie starting, and it was at an GMC, General Movie Cinema, whatever the fuck it was called, in a mall. And they had their little GMC logo, and it was like a ripoff of the HBO logo.
Yeah.
And they were doing their little feature presentation logo. The feature presentation's about to start. And I remember my dad, I never really saw movies with my dad in the theater, you know. It was just me and my dad. I remember him leaning over and just whispering in my ear, like, Ninja Turtles, like right before us starting. That memory is so ingrained into my life. To give context, like, I guess I would have been 4 years old seeing Batman and 5 seeing the Ninja Turtles. So let's start here in 1984. We've got the original comic book. I really never got into the comic book when I was a kid, obviously.
It is a lot fucking darker and a lot more violent, but
right.
Yeah.
But I do like the look of it. I'm not gonna lie. The only problem is I was having a hard time distinguishing them because, you know, it's black and white, you can't tell who they are, and the whole color scheme didn't really appear till the show, did it?
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of those things that was pretty smart because they all used to be red. You know, they all had red, they all had different weapons. And some genius at the fucking Jim Henson Company was like, or I guess it wasn't Jim Henson. It was some genius, the cartoon people. They were like, gotta color code them, man. Gotta color code them for the love of God.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, back in the day, the comic books were black and white, so it didn't really matter. I mean, the idea is like all 4 turtles are like one entity in the early books, but yeah, like you said, super violent. Not for kids. I skimmed the first book, and it was pretty definitely going for that Frank Miller Sin City vibe, but a little toned down from that.
Yeah, it was kind of supposed to be like a parody of like the gritty ones like Daredevil and all that stuff.
Definitely huge Daredevil parody.
Yeah, like
Daredevil.
Yeah, you get the Foot Clan. That's basically a parody of the Hand in it from Daredevil.
The Ooze is kind of similar to the toxic waste that gives Daredevil his powers. New York, battling in the night. Just all this Daredevil stuff. Vigilante. It was kind of like a parody of Daredevil almost, but if there was just one Ninja Turtle and he was deaf, that would have been a little too on the nose. There's the Mirage comics, which is what we're looking at right now, which were the Eastman and Laird comics. And there's so many references for the Turtle movies to the words East or Laird if you watch them.
The first movie, Sam Rockwell's like, hey, yeah, this one's on Eastman and Laird Island, yeah.
Right, the East Warehouse on Laird Avenue or whatever. Yeah. This is like one of those things where like your parents would find out what you're doing. Like, what are your job? What are you boys working on? Just working on a comic book with my friend in my basement about Ninja Turtles who live in New York and fight crime.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I was big into comic books back then. It was more X-Men and Punisher like that. And somebody showed me one of those. It was kind of on the fringe. And then that cartoon came out and I was like, what is this mess? And then the movie came out a couple years later and I was like, okay, so this ain't bad. This is pretty violent.
Yeah.
How many rated R franchises did they have to like cartoonize? What was it? Not even G.I. Joe. There was something else with Sergeant Slaughter, but they did something there was a whole bunch of rated R properties that weren't made for kids, and they made the cartoon version for kids. So I think that's
Robocop.
Well, I think what is going on is in the 80s, Eastman and Laird were like licensed the Turtles to Playmate toys. Because, you have to understand the success of He-Man and G.I. Joe and Transformers and all this stuff, the toy companies were like looking for anything that could sell. So it's also like, you got the comic books, which are dark and gritty, but then you got toy companies that are like, hey, we want to license this and make a cartoon show out of all of it. So naturally, you're going to have to soften the edges of it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just going to have to happen, especially if you're talking about syndicated TV, which is kind of what this came to be, This is how you lead to this shit, which is like...
We're the opposite of the comics.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I guess we'll close the comics. Like, I mean, the comics, they're dark and gritty, and they had a great... they had four runs basically, and the first 2 were there's the first Eastman and Laird run, and then the second run was known as the guest run, which is where all these guest artists and guest writers came in and did all these like more nonsensical stories. And then there's the third and fourth run, which like the third was kind of a standalone because it's kind of like they might not even be the same turtles, but they kind of bring them back, the third run Turtles. And then the fourth run was Eastman and Laird coming back and finishing it off and making a big cohesive story, which was City at War.
Yeah.
But then again, like City at War, like what year did that even come out at? It was like in the 90s, I guess.
That's what they wanted to ask Wes because he read the comics. Because Splinter's been changed through the years. Was Splinter in the comics ever a human or was he always a rat? Because that's been changed back and forth.
Yeah, he was a human.
Okay.
In the he was a Splinter. He was a human in the cartoon show. In the comics, it was more like the movie, which is where he was the rat.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. I think I remember in the comics, it was less science and potions and it was more
alien.
It was more, it was more either alien or there was also some like ninja magic going on or something like that. Some like supernatural occult stuff. I know Shredder was into the occult. So, again, this is like 30 something years ago. So you're going to have to forgive me. And I didn't do a deep, matrix upload of information like Enzo did. So I'm woefully unprepared.
Which one makes less sense?
The cartoon, the original cartoon.
Because, like, you're saying, okay, so a rat turns into a big rat, just like how the little turtles turn into big turtles. But how the does a rat learn karate from a human, you know? So something that we're going to keep touching on over and over again throughout the stream is, like, anytime there's a story centered around Shredder, it's going to be grounded and gritted and, like, kind of realistic and darker. And anytime, like, Krang is one of the villains, like, the shit, anything is like fucking anything is game. Like, it's all going out the window. It's insane. But anytime Shredder seems to be the bad guy, it seems to be more like kung fu action related, Daredevil style, you know, almost like a noir, which I personally obviously like more.
I think everybody would like that more.
Now, you'd be surprised how many people like the this iteration. I mean, like, we got to be real. This iteration right here that we're looking at is the most well-known. This is where all the merchandise, all the logos, all the shirts, all the designs, all the kind of stuff, it's all coming from this cartoon. And so much of the iterations after this borrow heavily from this. The idea that Leo is the samurai leader, Donatello is the nerd, the tech guy, Raphael, he's the kind of well, that's the thing, is like the first movie actually gets more credit with the Raphael stuff. But the idea of, like, Michelangelo becoming this, why is Michelangelo like an LA surfer dude, even though all four of them should take
New Yorker, isn't he?
all four of them should have New York accents.
That's true.
In the first Turtles movie, the actor who played Raph, who was the only actor who voiced and was the guy in the suit, by the way.
Oh,
but he was the one who came up with the idea of doing the Brooklyn accent for Raph, and it just works because Raph is a hothead. You know,
I think the logic would be twofold, wouldn't it? It would be because he is the hothead of the group, the wild card, you know, of the group, and then but also so you know, you would associate that with a hardcore Jersey accent. Too bad we don't have Dark Hour on this, huh? He could confirm or deny. And then the other thing would be that he's the one that, like, you see that, like, the other ones are pretty content to stay down there on the sewers and stuff like that and do their little, you know, Donatello's happy to play with his computers and do stuff, and Michelangelo's happy to skateboard around the tunnels, and then Leonardo just does what he's told. But Raph is the one that wants to go watch movies and go hang out and immerse himself in the society out there, doesn't he? Yeah. So, like, maybe that explains more why he's, like, you know, because he always wants to go off on his own. Don't they make comments about that multiple times, that he likes to, like, be out on his own and do his own thing?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, back in the 80s and 90s, it made more sense because, hey, man, you just need a fucking antenna and an old TV someone threw away, and you'll be getting all the same pop culture everyone else is getting. Same thing with, like, newspapers and magazines that get thrown away. But nowadays with the internet, it's like it's easier and more difficult to explain at the same time, you know? Yeah. The video games also came out. The first video game movie came out before the movie, which was that arcade, the 4 players beating them up. Which
God, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Guess what? Oh man, I wish that I had it. Maybe I can get one of my coworkers to send it, but I'd be worried because I'm on my phone on the live stream, so I'd be worried about losing you guys. But we have that game at my bar.
Yeah, but I remember having those video games on the.
Oh, that didn't impress you? That didn't impress you at all? No. Nothing. That did nothing for you.
I mean, yes, it did, but I mean, like, the arcades, it would be the fact that you have it, the original 80s one, it still works, or is it like an emulator from the old days?
No, it's the original 80s arcade thing in my bar. We have a pinball machine and we have 2 arcade games, and that's one of them. That's
impressive.
Well, it's pretty good that it still works, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, giving Donatello the glasses, that's like a common thing. Making Donatello the nerd. I mean, yeah, of course. Like I said earlier, Leo's like the samurai leader. Raph is like the hothead brawler. Mike is kind of relief.
That's what makes them special, though, is like their personalities. Like, the funny part is you assume that they're all 4 the same age, but Donatello's like, he's like the younger brother. Leo's like the older brother that's stoic, but he's also taking his training seriously. Raph is the hothead. Donatello's a geek, and they seem like their mentalities are 4 different age brackets, but they're all the same fucking age.
Also, they've never struck me as teenagers until recently, really. When you hear the word teenager, you think like, yeah, acne and braces and skinny.
Well, it sort of follows the whole the whole. I'm sure they have a trope for this, but like that whole thing of the rule of four thing that they'd always have, and they always have like four main characters in a way in cartoons and stuff like that. They'd have the main four, and they'd have they basically have the template for it with this as far as the core four. They all have a different color, and their color sort of aligns itself with its personality, doesn't it? Blue is for the cool Leonardo, the cool-headed, capable one. The purple being the edgy, edgelord computer nerd, whatever. And then you have the, what is that? I don't know if it's yellow or orange. Yeah,
it's orange.
Red for the temper for Raph. Yeah.
But that's why it's also because like I said, it's one of those things where like whoever was the one, that's one of those things that seems so obvious at the time probably, but nobody thought of it. Like make the turtles all different colors and like let's pick their colors based on their personality. I mean, Jesus. It's like the fish sticks joke. It was like right in front of our fucking noses the whole time.
It's like the Quentin Tarantino joke. The Fox Force 5. They have the different ones do the different stuff, and it's such a template for how they do stuff when she's describing it, because she says the black girl is the demolitions expert.
And also the other thing is like the reason why it works with the team demographic, like X-Men or Turtles or Fox Force 5 is like realistically like everyone has a little bit of all four turtles inside of them. Everyone's a clown. Right. Everyone's a temper. Everyone can be stoic. Everyone can be smart. The idea is like you distill these like four different personality traits that one normal person would have and distill them into four separate entities. Same thing with the X-Men. Logan would be your Raphael type character and Cyclops is your Leo. And it's like, you can, it's one of those things where like you simplify them, and because of that they become more complex over time, just naturally growing as characters do when you write them well, because it's one of those things that starts out so stupid, but by the time we get to the last Ronin at the end of the stream, it's like it's so intense and heavy, because like there's a huge difference between a 19-year-old and a 13-year-old. So like they can always be teenage.
13. I was 13 when the first movie came out. I remember that. Whoa. I went with a bunch of my friends. Shut up.
I was 5. The first Turtles movie, dude. I mean, it's so good. It was the highest grossing independent movie of all time until 1999 when the Blair Witch Project came out.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was one of those movies it is an independent movie. And you have to understand, like, they had just done this huge successful cartoon and the commercial success for the toys and all these tie-ins and stuff. So naturally we're going to make a movie. Corey Feldman, who's the voice of Donatello, he was offered only $1,500 to do the movie.
Holy shit.
Because Corey Feldman accepted it, believing, as the producers told him, it was a small, low budget independent film. And he's like, well, it'll have a big success on VHS probably if they're lucky. The movie ended up making $1 zillion,
Yeah. You guys are too young, but there was a huge controversy, because like basically this was one of those. What's that now?
The mums were complaining, weren't they? Because it was too violent, even though it's like wasn't even that fucking bloody.
I'm talking about part 1. Yeah. The moms lost their shit, and there was no internet, but I mean, it was like in all the newspapers and the magazines and the TV shows. Cause this was one of those things like opening weekend. Like I said, I went with a bunch of my friends, we saved up our allowance or mowed a lawn, had $5, and we went to the cinema in the afternoon to go see it. And, we come back from it, and then the reviews come out, and freaking Siskel and Ebert are like, "Wow, it's way too violent," and and then and they were the go-to critics, and then the moms start freaking out, going, "What did I just let? This is not the cartoon I let my kids watch in the afternoon. This is like bloody and violent and crazy," and Well,
it's funny because, like I said, like they were trying to. The Eastman and Laird were like, okay, we're hoping that this movie will be more like the comics and not like the cartoon, which is super silly. As far as making this movie, like they still toned down the violence considerably for Turtles 1. And yet, it got a huge backlash because, first of all, I mean, the big ending with throwing Shredder in a dump trunk, in a dumpster truck. And, you know,
Casey Jones straight up murders.
He straight up
murders Shredder.
That's the best line to say when you murder someone. Whoops. Just like on purpose, like sarcastically. Oh, God.
Whoops. You know, Enzo, like I'm looking right now, people got to tend to forget 1990, the budget was $13 million on the first Turtles film. The fucker grossed $202 million, and that's in 1990. So, I mean, geez, 13 million to 200 million. That's that's
but
phenomenal.
Keep in mind, like, you have to understand the first Turtles movie, like, okay, $13 million budget. That sounds like nothing. But, dude, think of like the puppets costumes they made. You know, you have to understand back in the day, what they did is like the costumes, the mask is a bunch of servos and the cables are running into the shell. Okay. And like Donnie, what's his name, who played the kid from Surf Ninjas, and he was in Ninja Turtles 2. He was the Donatello stuntman in the suit. And Corey Feldman did the voice, but he said that he had to drink a gallon of water a day just to stay hydrated. Like Eastman and Laird said, dude, you could never make the 90s movie nowadays because with the fucking film unions and shit, because like the costume, like the servos would get all hot. You'd have to apply burn gel to your face so the fucking animatronics don't fucking like, you know, heat, you know what I mean? Like that's insane. Parental guidance. I mean, Jaws is rated PG. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Jaws came out 20 years before that, bro.
Yeah, but again, that could have, fueled the backlash. You know, it's rated PG, and I took my little 5-year-old here. But the thing is, it's like, even if the movie had no violence, it wasn't necessarily the movie's violence. The problem is the Ninja Turtles are like swinging nunchucks and swords around. So like kids see that and they want to go home and take sticks and like fucking hit each other with it. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. It's not like
I know we did.
Even if the whole Shredder falling in the dump truck thing was removed, even if you'd still softened it even more, I still think there would have gotten.
Well, you also had the head. You had the head henchman. You'd have to look up the name.
Toshi.
You had Tosh, whatever. You had Master Toshi. You have these. They're training the runaway hand kids, and they're supposed to be 14, 15, and the kid bows too quickly and doesn't look up, and then he knocks him out, and then puts a knife to his throat. Dude, I mean, this is supposed to be like a 15-year-old kid.
In the original ending, he's supposed to kill that kid, but they added the sounds of him breathing and the other people being like, he's going to be okay. They like added that ADR in later because like he basically beats him to an inch of his life if not, beats him to death. So they add those little ADR lines in to make it seem like,
plus you get Splinter. Splinter gets tortured.
Yeah.
Part of his ear gets cut off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Which is funny because that iteration, Splinter, in all later iterations, he's got a little notch missing in his ear in a lot of iterations after that. Yeah. Cartoons, the comic books, like they touch on this stuff, but I don't think they hit it as hard as the first movie, because it talks about, it's basically about fathers and their sons. The whole movie. The whole running theme. There's the kid, what's his name, who we never see again. April's little friend. What's his name?
Danny, innit?
Danny, there you go. Him and his father, they got this like torn relationship, and he joins the Foot Clan, and Shredder is like the surrogate father to all these like wayward children, presumably lacking their own father figures. But he's like a dark father figure. And then you've got Leonardo and Mike and Donnie and Raph, and they have been adopted by their father, Splinter. Even April O'Neil talking about her father. There's a lot of stuff about like they talk about her father occasionally, like when they bring up her apartment. There's so many other things involving the father and sons theme that runs deep in that movie, but obviously, the campfire scene, I've said this before, the campfire scene in the first Turtles movie is the best scene out of any fucking Turtles iteration ever.
Because it goes back to the scene where Donatello goes to Michelangelo saying, did you ever think about what Splinter says about not being here forever? And Michelangelo's like, thumbs up, piece of guys here. Like he's shrugging it off like he doesn't care, but then he does.
What's funny is like in the movie, he doesn't like anchovies, but in the comics, he did. Michelangelo. But I mean, as far as like what's awesome is like, their reactions after Splinter shows up. I mean, if you guys haven't seen the first movie, Jesus Christ. I mean, they have a seance around a fire. Leonardo's telling everyone, hey, stop joking around. Let's meditate. We're going to try to make contact with our father who's been kidnapped by the Foot Clan. We don't know where he is. We don't even know if he's alive.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, his father's ethereal spirit comes and contacts them. And after that, like, yeah, Raphael, like all their reactions after that are amazing because like Leonardo, who's usually the stoic leader, who's usually like in charge, he like bows his head in humility. Raphael, who's normally really upset and angry, he's like smiling out of joy. Michelangelo, who's normally joking and stuff, he's crying. Donatello, who's normally like, you know, snarky and, you know, Mr. Scientific, he's like comforting his brother Michelangelo. All that stuff is so good. And I don't even think they intend it to be that deep. You know what I mean?
No, it's surprisingly fucking emotional.
Yeah. I stand by that movie's got great writing in it. It's got a lot of subtext. It's got a lot of, I mean, I can't wait till we get to the point where I can start talking about all the really inappropriate shit they snuck in there.
Yeah, I definitely noticed a lot of that stuff in all three movies, live action movies.
But what about the scene where Raphael comes home after his tussle with Casey and Splinter's got his hand on his head saying, I'm really trying to challenge your angle, but you still got loads left. You need to fucking sort it out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fucking deep scene. Splinter's one of the deepest characters in it.
And also, I love when, like, for instance, like he encounters Casey Jones. Raphael, he goes out, does his own thing. Like you said, he wears a trench coat. He goes out to the movies. He's trying to like fight, you know, do his own thing and fight crime and not listen to Splinter really, where he's a rebel. And he encounters Casey Jones and
he's a legend.
Where Casey Jones calls him a freak. He's like,
freak.
You know who you call a freak, you know? So good. So good.
Elias Koteas plays cool badasses like nobody else in the 80s and 90s.
Well,
and you totally buy him as a fucking street kid as well, who's out to try and do some good. He really looks like a fucking street kid as well. He doesn't look like a fucking model come off the conveyor belt. No, he looks like he really has come from the roughest area of New York.
Well, dude, they wanted Christian Slater. They wanted Keanu Reeves. They wanted so many people to play Casey Jones, you know? Yeah. River Phoenix. They were all floated. And then Elias Koteas, who he was basically Casey Jones, and he was in Thin Red Line and Fallen. And like, what else? I mean, what else was he in?
Some Kind of Wonderful.
Yeah, there you go. But
look who's talking.
He's a famously bald. Oh yeah, he drinks the orange juice and he leaves only a drop. Back. But like Elias Koteas is so famously bald, so it's like, is he wearing? I know he's wearing a wig in part 3. Yeah, but he's wearing a wig in part 3. Is he wearing a wig in part 1?
Yeah, I wanted to join that ninja. I wanted to run away and join the ninja cult.
Dude, this is how you recruit a fucking shitload of ninjas. You ask for 12 to 15-year-olds to show up to your little skate park with arcades.
That's how you would do it. That's how you would do it in the 80s or 90s. Right. That is certainly not how you would do it now.
No.
They would be like, do you have any lactose intolerant? Do you have any I can't be outside for more than 20 minutes.
You get all the kids that are up to no good, and you get them to go hang out at this cool like warehouse where they can do whatever. And the next thing you know, you're asking them to little steal things and take things. And next thing you know, you're asking them to beat people up. Next thing you know, they're just like fucking straight up like these people kill people for you.
You got April O'Neil when she gets attacked in the subway and they show up in the ninja suits and she's like, am I late on my Sony payments?
Yeah, and
also you have Donatello winds up being because he's a tech and mechanic, and so is Casey. They wind up kind of buddying up together, and then later he can't sleep. Casey can't sleep in the tunnel, and he goes, "Oh, it's because you're claustrophobic." He's like, "I never looked at another dude." Oh,
that's good.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. And then Casey, like, low-level sexually harassing April in the middle of a fucking ninja fight.
Let me tell you something. Casey, even though they end up like becoming romantically involved, Casey Jones never calls April O'Neil by her name.
Right.
He only calls her like Toots and Sugar. He never once calls her April.
Yeah, he never calls her April.
The whole movie.
It's always hot lips and hey sticky buns and
That's why we love him.
Yeah, and as far as the turtle stuff in the first movie, man, dude, they shot the first movie. All the dialogue scenes were shot at 23 frames per second, so they could be played like when they played normal speed, they would look faster because like the machines, the puppets were so cumbersome, you know, and they couldn't see. They had like a little centimeter slot that they could see out of, and it was like 3 feet. It was like 3 inches from their face.
Wow.
So it's like you're
pulled off the fight scenes, though.
Yeah, you're doing all this stuff blind.
I know.
Dude. And another disgusting idea was like, I mean, obviously they had him cut a lot of stuff, a lot of deleted scenes, mostly like stuff on the farm, like Casey Jones' romance and a lot of their training was deleted. But like originally they wanted to film it like Who Framed Roger Rabbit with the turtles being animated. And it's like, no.
Oh, God.
Thank God Jim Henson's Creature Shop stepped in and was like, we can do this. Because I mean, seriously, you think of the logistics. Like, how do your main 4 characters are a special effect and we have a budget of $17 million. You know, how do we do that?
When they get in a fight in the beginning, Casey and Raph, and he pulls that, he's like, all right, new game, because he has that big bag of different kind of sticks he beats people with. Yeah. And he's like, all right, new game, cricket. And he's like, cricket? You got to understand what a crumpet is in order to play cricket.
The turtles were supposed to, in the comics and the cartoons, they're supposed to be 3 to 4 feet tall. But obviously, in the movie, we can't do that. So we made them human size, which obviously is a way better decision.
Yeah.
The idea of the idea of the turtles being like chest to stomach height, I don't like that at all. I don't care how strong they are.
Yeah.
But I don't like the Michael Bay thing where they're fucking giant 10-foot tall hulking beasts. We'll get to that later.
Get that later. I loved it, but
well, you know,
that's just my opinion.
Well, it's funny because the first Ninja Turtles movie was also editor Sally Menke's first feature film debut, and she eventually went on to become Quentin Tarantino's main editor.
Oh,
yeah.
So everyone starts.
I feel like there's a little. I can sniff a little QT in this movie. I feel like I can sniff out a little bit of Tarantino vibe in this movie. Am I wrong?
One of the things that I noticed that it right off just when you say that, like one of the things that sticks out is like the lighting. Quentin Tarantino does that lighting that has that kind of washed out, like Steven Spielberg kind of look, you know. And the Turtles movie, the first one, definitely has that kind of look, especially in like the warehouse scenes with the Foot Clan, like big, bright, like kind of like this light except white, you know, behind me, just like big, bright, like white stadium kind of lights, like overhead, like. That Quentin Tarantino will do that where they'll be like in a house, but there'll be this like insane, intense, like overhead light shining over the characters and the table. And it'll be one of those things where like a house would never have like a giant fucking mega white bulb, you know, in there above the house like that, you know, but it's a movie, so it looks cool.
I've just remembered something. Going back to April O'Neil, I found out Robin Williams actually gave her pointers on how to get into character. Because he was like a big fan of the comics.
Yeah, and they worked together on Cadillac Man.
Yeah, that's the film where, that's it.
Yeah.
I think I watched it on the Nostalgia Critics, what you didn't know about the title.
Well, her name was Judith Hoag, and she went on. She didn't reprise her role because she was upset about the 6-day filming shoots schedules. She was upset about the violence in the movie. She was one of those moms. Yeah, that's why they didn't ask her to.
She was really good in that role.
Yeah,
I think she's still the best live action April at the moment.
I do like Paige Turgo, who was in 2 and 3. I like her. Yeah. They wanted her to wear the April jumpsuit, and that was another thing. Judith Hogg was like, no, I am not. She called it horrifying. And they do kind of give her this little yellow raincoat at the beginning of the movie, which I think is appropriate. I think that's better than a jumpsuit. Just give her a yellow jumpsuit raincoat. But the thing is, later we get to TMNT, Mutant Mayhem. Apparently, the most important thing about April is her fucking yellow coat, her yellow outfit. That's stupid.
I'm being the best.
That's why I like in Turtles 2 and 3, she doesn't wear yellow once. It's so amazing. What's so funny about it is the Pizza Hut engaged in $20 million for marketing. Okay, and they had advertisements in print, radio, and television, and several rebate coupons. But what's funny is all the pizza that appears in the movie is Domino's. I don't know why that is.
Papa John's better.
Well,
Come on.
Papa John's was better. Papa John's fell off. Papa John's used to be the best. Now they're one of the worst.
I guess also the question I always had with the first film. Remember the guy to put the pizza down inside the sewer and stuff too. They put up a friggin' 20 and shit. Where are these guys getting money?
As a New Yorker, as a police pizza delivery guy in New York, I wouldn't ask questions. The 20, I see the 20 come up. I'm like, all right, homeless guy, here's your pizza. I wouldn't ask it. I would be like,
right. That is a good question. What are Ninja Turtles doing for money? How did Raphael pay for going to see that midnight matinee?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like
the robbing the fucking criminals are beat up.
Yeah, rob the criminals you beat up, or I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, oh, thank you, old man, Mr. Man, for taking the old lady with getting your purse back. Here's $20 for you. It's like, no problem, ma'am. It's like, you're a weird looking black man. I can't see very well without my glasses. It's like, get out of here. Goodbye. Yeah.
It's okay. I don't mean. I used to know a couple of Negroes back in my day.
I saw the nicest African American man saved my purse on a skateboard. He was huge.
I believe he had the sickle cell because his face was all green.
I mean, certain turtles have teeth, right?
Do they?
No, they have big beaks. Like bird.
The herbivores, they don't need like big sharp teeth.
Find out.
No, yeah. See if a turtle has teeth, and if they, have you guys seen a turtle dick?
I mean,
I don't want to.
I'm about to go.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay not seeing it.
Thank you, Google.
Big battle dicks here then. No.
What the hell was that?
A pig commercial. No, but seriously, turtle dicks in reality are horrifying.
I did Google. They said, technically speaking, turtles don't have teeth. Some baby turtles are born with a single tooth, but they have. It's like they're very like their beaks are very hard, and sometimes their gums. It gives the illusion of having teeth, but technically they don't have teeth.
Well, back to turtle dicks.
See, exactly.
Let me Google that now.
No, yeah, Google it and be horrified. I want to Google it.
I want about the movies, not like dicks.
No, watch. We're gonna see a full screen of Chris. Google it, and we're gonna see your reaction in real time as you. I
can't find it yet. I'm seeing like plushies. I don't know why.
No, turtle penis.
Okay,
that's what you want to.
Type in turtle.
Turtle penis, and you'll see. Let's see the horror upon your realization that the turtle dick comes out of the tail, and it looks like a fucking weird flower that grows out of the
what am I looking at?
Right.
Oh God!
Right, it's like a Venus flytrap that comes out of the turtle's tail, and it opens up like a leaf. Look at your reaction, dude. Look at this.
I'm not eating for a couple days. That is
okay. So this Turtles movie comes out in 1990. On a modest budget and makes a zillion dollars. So then what happens? A fucking less than a year later,
they make a sequel.
No, they do a concert.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I remember that.
So this is the first concert I ever went to. I was also 5 years old. When there's music inside of you, something's got to come through, bro. All right, so I mean, this is, obviously, if you guys haven't seen this Turtles Out of Your Shells, dude, that Drew Allen. Yes, this was my first concert. I never. I love it when I go to all these like music pages and they're like, "Your first rock concert, go." People are like David Bowie, Mick Jagger, and I'm like the Ninja Turtles. They're like, what? And I have to remind them this exists. There's a Splinter song about skipping stones. You guys remember that shit?
Yes.
He's got his little ballad.
Skipping stones.
Splinter was killing it.
Skipping stones. He's got little Sonya Blade dancers.
Okay, CDC or Johnny Cash, mate. This rocks.
There's no need to mutate, bro.
Even for a turtle.
Oh my God.
He's mellow. It's simple. It's simple what makes him grin.
What the
Cowabunga!
Johnny's gay.
One of my distinct memories, like actually watching this concert live as a 5-year-old, was like Shredder showing up and me and my friends just yelling,
That's your sister?
"Go suck on an egg! Go suck on
That is
an
fucking.
egg!"
That is awful. That is awful. That really is.
What's the matter? Couldn't get a date?
He was like doing crowd work to the 6-year-olds, making fun of 6-year-olds. Another low point in an actor's career. Yeah. Anyway, the Turtles.
Turtles, attack!
They gotta put on a concert.
Keep singing.
I don't know. We're not gonna watch this anymore.
Yes, please.
wow.
All right, dude. So here's the thing. So now we're in the big time because, like I was saying earlier before that fake out, less than a year after the first Turtles movie makes a shit zillion dollars, they produce, greenlight, and release a fucking sequel, Turtles 2. Secret of the Ooze, which,
Oh my God.
it's one of the best Turtles movies and one of the worst Turtles movies. The sequel was like, all right, Eastman and Laird, I know how you were worried that the movie was going to be kind of too much like the cartoon. Well, the sequels, I'm afraid, are going to go in that direction because of the just what the audience feedback is. They want the more cartoony stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't let him use their weapons in the second movie.
No, at all. In fact, that is a
They
good
use
point.
household objects.
Because, like I said in the first one, like it wasn't necessarily the violence; it was just like the turtles doing like simulated violence with just swinging swords around. I think you have Donatello; he hits Razor with a bow, and Michelangelo does his little nunchuck demonstration.
Yeah.
But other than that, like they don't use their weapons. Leo never uses his swords. Then you have to understand, like.
That's what it was.
Jim Henson's last movie was the first Turtles movie. He died about a month after it came out, and that's why the second one is dedicated to his memory, which came out like literally like 10 months later, which is fucking impressive. Like,
on top of you figure on top of, like I said, losing Jim Henson, then you have like, I mean, even as a kid, Corey Feldman, that voice felt like Donatello. Now you have a new Donatello voice. You have a new April O'Neil. I didn't like at the time. I didn't like the Shredder costume as much.
No Donatello, no Corey Feldman because he was in rehab again. The original April, she eventually met Paige Turco, Paige, the second and third April, and they hit it off. She said she never had any animosity towards her. She wasn't asked to reprise her role because she was asking for a substantial pay increase, but also she had kind of spent a lot of the time bad mouthing the first movie, the production, and they didn't like that.
There is a cool scene, with the kid who plays one of the turtles, but then now he's like a main character.
Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yeah, Ernie Reyes.
He played Donatello because the original Donatello got injured. He was like a Hong Kong stuntman. And he
coming in as the pizza delivery guy / buddy of the Turtles.
Yeah. Kino. There you go.
Kino. And then he actually goes undercover to join the Hand, and he has some pretty cool fight scenes.
You keep calling him the Hand. Yeah.
I do keep calling I keep calling him the Hand. I keep thinking of Marvel.
And it's funny because like he being a teenager is a good counterpart, plays off of the Turtles being also turned teenagers, But like what's funny about Ernie Reyes Jr., I talked about this in the Surf Ninjas we watch. It's like, dude, it's a shame he didn't become like a big star because they wanted him to, because they liked working with him in the first Donatello, the first Ninja Turtles movie as Donatello. They gave him his own part. They wrote a part specifically for him. And then he did Surf Ninjas kind of starring in it. And damn, dude, poor guy. I don't know. He's just like,
Surf Ninjas best scene is, what's his name coming out? What's his name? Rob Schneider coming out as the Scottish uncle.
Right. One thing I do like about Turtles 2, though, is they find their new sewer home.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to show it, but God,
I want to live there. I'm not going to lie.
It was so badass. It was
I
like
know, look at fucking space everything.
it was based off of like some legit real New York subway station that was kind of abandoned. But
yeah,
of course,
I like how in Secret of the Ooze they find the tunnel from Skyfall is is their new base quarters.
They have like their house is like a literal abandoned train car, and they got their own electricity, and like definitely like an improvement from the first Turtles movie, which is like, you know, the standard actual sewer with like tunnels and a big main corridor tunnel, and just everything has like a fucking 2 inches of water in it, you know, at all times. Well, my favorite thing about Turtles 2 is definitely the David Warner. I love David Warner.
Yeah.
The actor. He's always in these shitty B movies like Waxwork and Quest of the Delta Knight, but he's always a villain. Yes. And you have to understand, he was originally going to be a villain, like a Men in Black type alien. They were going to do TCRI. So you have to understand the ooze comes from TCRI, which is toxic. What is it? Techno-Cosmic Research Institute. And it's in the cartoons and the comic books. And originally in Turtles 2, it was going to be revealed that the company is actually a front run by aliens. And the ooze is an extraterrestrial origin. But eventually it was going to be revealed that Dr. David Warner, whatever his name was, Dr. Perry, I believe, he was going to be like a Men in Black type, like alien suit that an Utroll, what are they called? The aliens? But anyway, the idea is like it's going to be revealed that he's like a piloted spaceman, kind of like Krang. But they didn't want to do it because A, it was too expensive, and B, it would make people think he was Krang. So they just made him like a nice guy, which is like the only time David Warner got to play a dude that was nice. And he stated multiple times that it's his favorite role.
Hey, you said that's your favorite, the best thing. I'm going to address the elephant or turtle in the room. Please. And talk about the very best thing about the Secret of the Ooze. Vanilla motherfucking ice.
Oh my god.
Vanilla ice.
I was waiting for someone
to bring it up. It's the green machine, gonna rock the town without being seen. Have you ever seen a turtle get down? Slamming and jamming to the new swing sound. Yeah, everybody let's move. Vanilla's here with the new jack groove. Gonna rock and roll this place with the power of the Ninja Turtle bass. Iceman, you know I'm not playing. Devastate the show while the turtles are saying.
Pre-Eminem.
You guys want to know something that's gonna make you die inside? You know who wrote that song?
Oh, God.
Oh, God. No.
You would say Vanilla Ice, but you know Vanilla Ice doesn't write his own music. You know who wrote it? Frank Miller.
No!
I am not joking. Now, you have to understand, like, in the scene of the movie, the context of the film, they're in a fucking nightclub, and a giant bunch of masked vigilantes show up and start fighting, and it becomes pretty apparent that these aren't costumes and whatever. And there's a hip beat playing, and Mr. Vanilla Ice wants us to believe that him and his cool, funky group of swagadelics just kind of improv that whole rap song. I don't believe it for a second. Do they not know how music is written? You have to understand, you would think Vanilla Ice's career spanned over decades by how much shit there is. It was all 3 years. That was all the Vanilla Ice we got. Villains, you better run and hide because one day you might not slide. So choose your weapon. Don't slip.
Someone stop him.
That's a terrible song. And now you know that Miller wrote it.
How the fuck did Vanilla Ice conjure up those lyrics about the turtles? It's like he already knew the history there.
Well, Frank Miller, exactly. He's just, exactly. According to the movie, he's improving all of this. It's like, shut the fuck up.
When Enzo was giving a breakdown, I just happened to YouTube, like, just small scenes from part 2, but especially the last fight with Super Shredder and the way that they don't even fucking beat Shredder. It's like
they don't even touch him.
Yeah.
In the entire movie, Shredder's only contact is when he's Super Shredder and he pushes Leonardo.
Yeah.
They don't touch Shredder the entire movie, which I think was like a nice change of pace. And also they wanted it to be Bebop and Rocksteady, be the mutants, but Kevin Laird and Eastman were like, no, I mean, we're going to create our own characters just kind of to give distance from the cartoon. Cause like I said, they don't want to do the cartoon.
Yeah.
The cartoon is like not really affiliated with them and they can't really take credit. The cartoon was on for 10 seasons. You understand? Like it's a massive history there.
I think Kevin Nash doesn't show up a lot. I think Kevin Nash could have had he's got the size to be a fucking kind of a big he could have been utilized more in more
funny
projects.
Yeah,
Kevin
especially
Nash,
in this one.
I keep seeing Kevin Clash. He's the guy who's the black dude who does the voice of Splinter.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he plays Elmo. He plays Elmo.
Plays Elmo, exactly. The voice of Splinter and Elmo are the same guys.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That is fascinating.
That's great voice acting. It's great voice acting. I mean, you children must know that I am your father and I love you.
And so that's not bad. That is not bad at all. So
Dude.
we capped off of 2. We ready to go into 3? Or
yeah, sure.
Oh boy,
Turtles 3. This is the only really interesting stuff I want to talk about with Turtles 3. They said, "Hey, Corey Feldman, we feel real sorry about not asking you to be a part of Turtles 2 because you were in rehab. We want you to be in Turtles 3." And he's like, "Great. Can I get more than $1,500? And they were like, "No." So he did Turtles 3 also for $1,500.
wow.
Now, one thing I say before we get into that, and so I was looking out after the box office. The sad part is the box office between 1, 2, then 3. Man, it takes a big fucking nosedive, man.
Even as a child, I walked out of Turtles 3. I walked out of Turtles 2 being like, that was good. Even with the Vanilla Ice shit. I walked out of Turtles 3. That was like one of my earliest memories walking out of a movie being like, I am not happy. Normally I walk out of a movie elated. You know, that's the thing about the 90s. You'd walk out of a movie and be like, that was awesome, no matter what it was.
But it's like if you look at Donatello from first Turtles to the third one, it's like the costume design. Like you guys just aren't. It's like $5 Walmart costumes. Like they're just not trying anymore.
Well, what's funny is I don't think I finished that point with the second movie, but like I said in the first movie, like they had all the servers in the face and all the cables and stuff were in the shell. In the second movie, that was the first time they were able to put all the mechanics in the face, in the head, in the mask. So the body didn't have to be as bulky. The shell didn't have to be as heavy. But in this third one, this is the first time that, you know, this is no longer Jim Henson. In fact, it's All Effects Company. The company's called AEC All Effects Company. Yeah. And they're the ones who took over. So this is where like Jim Henson's no longer involved. And I think that's a big part of why. And I especially remember Splinter having this gerbil-like appearance that I didn't appreciate. But it's funny because they bring back Paige Turco to play April, and she's got short hair. And again, like I said earlier, like in the second and third movie, live action, she never once wears yellow.
Never.
And we're fine with it. It's not a big deal. It's okay. It's great, actually. Who cares? April's a woman. She can wear whatever she wants, and she's got like all these various design styles. She's a woman. She's a modern 20th century woman. She can wear whatever she wants. But what is weird is like they bring back Casey Jones, who's supposed to be a very violent character, and they bring back Elias Koteas, who is famously bald actor, and he's wearing the most distracting like hairpiece as modern day Casey Jones, and he does no violence, he does no fighting. He's literally like a chaperone for these ancient feudal samurai dudes, which I have to admit, I talked about with Tyler. It's like my favorite part of part 3 is all the feudal Japanese dudes like learning about hockey and just living in a sewer and talking to a giant rat. All that stuff was funny. I do like the way the time travel works in this movie. It's a magic scepter, and you hold the scepter, and if you say the magic spell, someone who is holding the scepter in another time will trade places and clothes with you. Now, this is that's a pretty cool device, and because it's cool because it's so random and so like chaotic of a time travel device. But yeah, April's just happens to be holding the scepter when this like Japanese samurai Ken dude, his name's Ken, by the way, for real. He does the spell and he switches places with April. So then the turtles, they do the spell and they switch with 4 samurai. So you've got 5 of these Japanese dudes, and Ken, he's kind of upset in the turtle sewer. And I swear to God, these are the exact lines. Casey Jones, he's like, "Hey Ken, you might want to, try decaf, if you know what I'm saying." And Ken's like, "Hochikabara, hochitokara," he throws something at him. And then the last Cody is, I swear to God, this is the exact line. He says the same line again, except he says this time, he's like, "Hey Ken, you might want to try a little herbal remedy, if you know what I mean. The idea of like Casey Jones going bald as a character is not cool. But what is cool is Casey Jones actor Elias Koteas does get to play a second role, which means he gets 2 paychecks, and he plays like Casey Jones, like ancestor. And we get to see him without
he's
a
a
hairpiece.
pirate, isn't he?
Yeah, he gets to see him without a hairpiece, with a beard, and April O'Neil like is in feudal Japan, like recognizes him. Oh my God, Casey! And he's like speaking, and he actually gets to act, because Elias Koteas is a great actor. I'm sorry,
great actor. He's a great actor.
He should be in way more movies. He should have won some awards. The guy, he knows what he's doing, and the fact that he will always be remembered as Casey Jones is kind of.
You're right, man.
Sweet.
Ever since that first film, whenever I'd see him the rest of my life, I'm always thinking Casey Jones.
Dude, he's in The Thin Red Line. He's amazing. He has a pretty small part. I mean, a lot of the characters have small parts in
he was great in The Prophecy as well. But you guys are young, so you guys think Casey Jones. I will always see him as the bully who becomes Eric Stoltz's friend in Some Kind of Wonderful. I'll always see him as that.
How appropriate. 1997. Now we are in Ninja Turtles. What's it called?
Next Dimension. Is that it?
It's
been a long time. I remember that female one.
This is where we have Venus, and also where we famously have the Ninja Turtles. The show wasn't doing good, and they did a Power Rangers crossover.
Oh, God.
Oh.
All right.
I mean, now this is an episode of Power Rangers in space, and kind of reminding the kids, like, hey, kids, there's a new live-action Turtles show on.
So the Mutant Ninja Turtles are for real?
You know what? I remember this now.
Here's what I do have to say about the Turtles and the Power Rangers crossover is the comic books are out of this fucking world, dude.
Shit.
Like, the art in the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers comic books is badass. And the story is out of this. It's one of the better crossovers ever. Ninja Vanish. That's like one of my favorite catchphrases too, by the way. But the turtle designs, it's pretty cool. But what's interesting is like you've got the Power Rangers, showing up. And like I said, I don't know what's going on with the artist who does these books, but he's fucking next level, dude.
Yeah.
The art in these books is so out of this world. But what's so cool is like eventually like Shredder shows up and he gets the power of the Green Ranger.
Oh shit.
And he becomes like a fucking hardcore badass.
Wow, look at that.
And then what happens is the power cool. It is super cool. And the Power Rangers, they have to like lose their powers for some reason. I can't remember why. Rita Repulsa is involved. So they become ninja. So they become Ninja Rangers. And they go like hardcore stealth mode, whereas the Ninja Turtles, they become Power Turtles.
Yes.
There you go. Power Turtles.
Why not?
Wow.
So then you've got Shredder commanding the Dragon Zord. At the end, I mean, it gets pretty fucking off the rails. If you guys haven't seen it, check out the motion comic or this Comic Storians.
That's cool.
Comic Storians recap. It's pretty fucking badass. So yeah, I guess what would be next in the iterations here would be
the cartoon,
the next cartoon, which would be
2007.
Just as 2003 technically. Just as popular as the 1980s cartoon, honestly.
Oh, and so Wes was right though, right there, because it was 2002 was announced, but it was on it's called Fox's Fox Box Programming, which was later known as 4Kids TV, and it ended in 2009. So it was, and then apparently the final season was actually on CW.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Damn, CW.
And then it says 4Kids also licensed the first 40 episodes, then to Cartoon Network in 2003. Then Cartoon Network aired the series until 2007. So, I mean, it started on Fox, but it eventually ended depends on the people, on Cartoon Network. So it went through 3 different stations.
Nice.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, it's funny because like all these same companies, that eventually owned rights of the Turtles, like Paramount, Viacom, Cartoon Network, the CW, what else? Warner Brothers now. No, Warner Brothers did eventually dabble with them. New Line Cinema. It's funny because they all passed on the first Turtles movie. You know, like none of them wanted to fund the first Turtles movie because it seemed like they didn't want to repeat Masters of the Universe. Like, yeah, it's a popular toy, but we don't.
Which I still contend is a great fucking movie. Actually,
after this, that's where we start getting into the where is it? It's right here. Jesus. The TMNT movie, which I rewatched recently. And I gotta say, like, I like the idea of the turtles, the designs. I like Leo doing his own thing in the jungle. I like Raph being a vigilante. Yeah. I don't like any of the supernatural monsters and villains and all this stuff. I don't like any of the main plot. Yeah, and I love all the monster fighting technically. Yeah. But I just don't like this, you know, what these monsters technically are, the motivations, and it's all big. It was like, this is something like I said at the beginning, like all the more grounded turtle stories where it's just like the turtles are the most outrageous thing. Those are the stories I like. Where it's like the turtles are the least outrageous thing, and you've got Krang and multi-dimensional portals and time travel. Like those are where the stories tend to get too silly for, you know, as far as like this movie, I thought was pretty reserved. It's funny because this movie is pretty outrageous, but then they did the 2003 animated show movie after this in 2009. Was it? Yeah. Turtles Forever.
Yep.
Did you guys watch Turtles Forever?
No.
Nah.
Okay. So Turtles Forever, you have to understand, this is 20 years before this multiverse shit that's all tapped out right now. It's literally the 2003 Turtles meeting the 1980s Turtles.
I remember watching clips on YouTube. Yeah, where the different versions were meeting each other. I did see the clips.
Yeah, and then at the end, they go to Turtles Prime and encounter the black and white comic book Turtles too. It was off the chain. It was another one of these. It was up there with the Turtles Power Rangers comic book crossover. Fucking outrageous.
Yeah,
I recommend checking it out, you guys. After Turtles Forever, this is where we get into the IDW comic books, which seriously, they are the best comic book runs. It's the best comic book run ever for the Turtles, at least. And I swear to God, like so much of it incorporates so much from every little iteration, like to where the Turtles really are their own. They really are. They really stand out individually, and the character design. It's like this to me. The IDW run is peak Turtles. Now, right? Of course, that's the other thing that sucks is like, you know, the Turtles. Like when you distill them to their basic form, they have to be at least Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know. Yeah. Whereas like April O'Neil, at her very truest, distillest form, she just needs to be a reporter who's friends with the Turtles. Her wearing yellow is not important. Whereas like Batman, you know, if you take away his ears or his cape, he's not Batman, you know. But according to this newest Turtles movie, which we will get to in a second, like her wearing yellow is like one of the most important things that makes her April, because they literally change everything else and just keep the yellow fucking jacket, and that's supposed to make her April. But before we get to the Bay movies, then this is 2009. You have to understand, 2009 is when Viacom owns the Turtles now. And Nickelodeon is now in charge of the Turtles. Now, technically, they were behind Turtles Forever. That was technically the first Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles promotional thing, I think. And then the IDW cartoon comics come out. But then we have the Turtles 2012 show, which is the one that I am probably least familiar with, which, you know, was kind of like just like the animated show of the TMNT movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did Bastard, you watch this stuff at all?
No, I missed that one.
I
watched the 2003 version, which I liked, but I got this version on DVD a few weeks ago, and I still haven't had a chance to watch it.
Just not really. I don't really care. It just seems like there was a wave of these like early 2000s animated programs and shows that were just kind of cheaply done, and I don't know, had this like cheap Pixar look.
Well, see, like my son said for him, because the thing is, he was born 2007. So for him, he's 5 years old. This was this is 2012. So a whole new generation now of Ninja Turtles fans.
You're
So
probably the most familiar with this show in passing.
Yeah,
then.
your kids are closer in the age.
Yeah.
My youngest son was born in 2005, but he never took to Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I'm going to just be able to get into the Bay stuff with you guys because I got to get to the liquor store before it closes out here. Because I'm not going another night without booze.
Okay.
So.
Well, yeah, we could talk. We could skip the Bay Turtles and just move on to 2018, and you can get your liquor, come back, and we'll go right back to the Bay movies when you get back.
All right, fair play, guys.
All right, cool. I want to talk about Rise, 2018, and the Rise of the Turtles, the movie. I want to talk about these congruently.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the movie is fairly new. It came out from Netflix in 2022, but the animation is insane. And the cartoon show, I agree. It sucks. It's not good.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a fan of the character design, really. I'm also not a fan of it. It takes place when they're real young. It's like Batman Year One, but for the Turtles. And Raphael's the leader. It adds this shitty dynamic knowing that Raph used to be the leader and he got demoted. I don't like that. I like this idea that Leo was always the leader, has always been the leader, will always be the leader. It doesn't give this brotherly conflict vibe that it's not necessary. But the other thing I don't like about this Rise of the Turtles is their weapons. Their weapons are like magic and have like superpowers.
That's what my son said. My son said he's like, Dad, he wasn't a fan of the series because it only lasts 2 seasons, but he said he liked the movie. And
the movie was cool. I mean, I didn't really like. Again, it was like one of those Krang stories where it's like Mortal Kombat Apocalypse, Mortal Kombat 9, where it's like the world has ended because Krang took over, and we're gonna send Casey Jones. No, you know what it is? It's X-Men. Days of Future Past. They send Casey Jones back in time to warn the Turtles about an impending threat from Krang, but it's before the Turtles are even really the Turtles. And it's before April even meets Casey.
She wasn't as awful as the one in the new.
Right. We don't complain about this Black April because she's not obnoxious and ugly.
Yeah.
The new April is both of those things, but because she's black, they say, "Oh, well, you're racist. That's why you don't like her." It's like, no.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, that little chestnut. Leo, I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I like my Superman. I like my Leonardo. I like my Cyclops. I like my leaders. I like my main characters who are good people who know what they're doing. And they're
I will give credit. I will give credit to the movie. It does give him some character development, but that's just me judging it as a movie and not from the show because I didn't watch the show. So.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I agree.
I don't know what you mean. It's like when I see Splinter being jokey. I like him to be a bit more serious and dignified and a bit wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's like I do like the fact that it's returning to 2D animation because I think that's probably one of the big problems I had with TMNT was it wasn't just that it's 3D, it's like cheap 3D. It's not Pixar.
It's like a video game.
Yeah, it's like, Pixar minus 10, like it's not that Pixar level quality that we're used to seeing with the CGI rendered stuff. Whereas this like return to 2D animation, and I gotta say, even though it's pretty choppy and sloppy in the show, in the movie, it's it might trigger an epileptic seizure. It's like anime level, anime level style kinetic energy coming out of all the fucking action in the rise of the. Even though it's like, even if you don't like this iteration of the Turtles, if you're into animation, I would highly recommend watching the Netflix animated Rise of the Turtles movie just for the animation, the colors. Like there's a big part where Krang takes over the city and he's mutating everybody into brain figures and everything's got this pink glow. So anytime they cut to the Turtles or Casey Jones, like all the highlights are colored bright pink. And it's one of those things where it's like they didn't have to do that. And yet they did, and it looks so much cooler. But
well, you guys said it definitely. It seems like the Turtles, the Rise movie, because it's actually made for Netflix too. It wasn't made for anything, so that one's got the best reviews.
Meg, as a young lady, what are your thoughts on the Turtles and April O'Neil?
Oh man, I just jumped in. You ask me that right away. One, I think it's silly to expect any kind of males to be enthusiastic about watching a show where they have made a hot girl into a not hot girl. Obviously, the target demographic of this
We're talking
show
about
is going
we're talking
to
about the
be.
Ninja Turtles as a whole. We haven't really touched on the newest Turtles yet.
Well, I'm talking about the new thing, but obviously, one of the most important things is that Splinter has a role as a sort of protective father figure who like gives you wisdom to go throughout life, and then also April serves as the female aspiration. Like you hope you can get a girl that hot.
The other thing, the thing about
in that way,
I agree. The thing about April is this is why I like to talk about this broader stuff because April.
Is that an okay answer for just jumping in and having that answer?
Great, because here's the thing, April. She serves as not only this unattainable, babe figure, this unattainable sexual attractiveness, that keeps the turtles like grounded. Like the turtles, like doing a lot of their stuff, it could be easily reasoned by the fact that April's hot.
Well, the turtles are teenage.
Right.
By definition, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So
April's
why would
a babe.
they not be driven by hot girls?
April's a babe. She's a reporter. So I mean, news reporters, they don't, news channels don't really hire unattractive reporters just yet.
True.
But the other thing about April is like not only is she like this she's unattainable because she's super hot and she's human, but she's also kind of like a sister to them.
Elderly normal ninja tortoise.
Now, but I was saying adolescent genetically altered shinobi terrapins.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to get to probably my second favorite Turtles thing ever. I didn't know about this until about a few days ago, and I barely watched it a few days ago. I didn't even know this thing was a real thing, and I didn't know that it was so amazing. But it's, of course, Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's from this is the 2019 issue right here we have.
Which one's the evil one?
Well, so here's the thing. I don't want to spoil too much. I don't know why it works so well, but it does.
Yeah.
Bastard. Now, Chris, did you watch this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Like you said, when it was first announced, the concept of it, I thought the concept was pretty fucking stupid when it was announced. Then I seen clips and I'm like, now I'm intrigued. And then like I watch it and I'm like,
so you saw it when it came out?
Yes. But,
okay.
But I first heard about it, like I thought it was just because how many stupid cheesy crossovers do we get?
Yeah, it's your standard movie where they have one fight where they don't trust each other, then they realize they're on the same side, and then they're joining for the greater good. But what's crazy is like the enemy they face, it's Shredder and Ra's al Ghul, and they're like working together, dealing with this mutagen, and then like once they start giving all the Batman rogues like Joker and Bane and Poison Ivy, they start giving them all the mutagen and they all become mutants. It just goes off the rails so fast and it becomes so cool. Because with Turtles, I don't know. Like I said earlier, like for the most part, I like it when it's grounded. But this was one of the few times where it went totally off the rails and I loved every second of it. Yeah, the opening scene's great because you have the Penguin planning a heist and then you've got the Foot Clan planning a heist. And the Ninja Turtles interrupt the Penguin's heist, and Batman and Batgirl interrupt the Foot Clan heist, and you're like getting both heroes like getting a dose of each other's worlds at the same time. And then, of course, the Turtles and Batman learn about each other, and Batgirl, I think she's the first one to encounter the actual Turtles, and she tells Batman about it, and he's like, what? All right. Well, anything we want to say about Batman versus Ninja Turtles? I don't want to spoil too much. Just definitely check it out.
I'll be back, guys. I'm going to go get my webcam. I'll be back.
All right. I would say anybody like if like Wes or like freaking Luke didn't see it, I would say YouTube Batman versus Shredder. And the first time they fight, Shredder fucks Batman up.
No, but
like,
here's the thing that's so
like,
cool.
Whoa,
is like Shredder beats the shit out of the four turtles.
Yeah.
But Batman versus Shredder was like equally matched, where they both like got their asses kicked, and they're like, "All right, until we meet again."
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like Batman versus Ninja Turtles, dude, definitely check it out. But let's go back in time a few years to the fucking Michael Bay movies. The Bay Turtles, we're gonna call them. I mean, there's two movies.
Yeah.
And both movies I don't like them, but
Really?
Yeah,
I like
no,
them. I like them.
I'm with Wes.
Yeah,
Second one's a bit better.
I definitely agree. Hands down, the second one is way better. Shredder looks way better. I thought the Shredder looked ridiculous in the first one. He's like wearing a goddamn like a Colossus suit, like made out of like T-1000 metal or something, and he's got magnetic like knives.
In that one.
Yeah, and like in the second one, he's like, well, he doesn't even wear a costume, which is kind of lame. But at the end, when he does finally put on the costume, it was way more reserved, except it would have looked better with a big purple cape. That's all I'm saying. If you just gave him a big purple cape, he would have looked fantastic. They were going to say, like, the turtles are going to be aliens this time. It's just going to be called Ninja Turtles.
I was going to say, when that was first announced, boy, the fucking backlash they were getting for talking about making them aliens and taking, but you can tell
it's so funny because, like, I was one of the few people that was like, the turtles have always been alien origin. The ooze was always alien origin back when the comics. You have to understand, like TCRI used to stand for Techno Cosmic Research Institute, and it was, like I said, run by a front from aliens. They changed that in the movies because it was too expensive, but then they changed it to TGRI, Techno Global Research Institute, and they just made up humans making a news that turns you into mutants. But like all that stuff with Krang and the aliens definitely gives it that like Guyver storyline, you know.
So Bebop and Rocksteady,
right? Well, like I said, like they were gonna do all this stuff for the first Turtles movie, and they were like, "Well, let's not." And honestly, I think if they had just blown all the paint and just did one Turtles movie, like if Turtles 1, Bay Turtles, excuse me, if Bay Turtles 1 and Bay Turtles 2 was just one massive movie, I think that would have gone over better because like Turtles 1, I did not like because A, Shredder looked retarded, and B, like there was a specific part. I think there's a specific part where anyone watching this is like, this is stupid. And it's that part where they're like supposed to be near New York, but for some reason they're like skiing down some kind of ice mountain and buildings, cars are just exploding and tanks and semi trucks are just like flying everywhere. It's at this point in the movie where everyone in the entire audience, whether they are a 8-year-old or an 80-year-old, they are just like, this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen. What is this? This is New York.
When you put them next to actual living humans, it just makes them look even faker.
Yeah. Especially the computer animated ones. The Michael Bay ones, I mean, the Michael Bay style humor with the go, run, no. You just have someone like Will Arnett or Shia LaBeouf shout shit like, whoa. Oh, no. Whoa. And that's supposed to like be entertaining. And really, it's just fucking annoying. No one likes to hear that shit.
I can never watch the original Transformers again because you've just ruined it for me.
Yeah. What's the worst part about I think the worst part about the Michael Bay Turtles movie is Whoopi Goldberg. She's in that one.
Yeah, she was April's boss, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She said that it's a highlight of her. It was a lifelong goal of hers to be in a Turtles movie because her daughter is a huge fan of the original cartoon. And when
she'd have to be. She'd have to be. Whoopi Goldberg looks like a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, she looks like a new April.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, she said she tried to get involved in the first movie and never happened, and the second one either. And finally, she asked to get involved with Michael Bay, and they're like, "Sure, you can come on board."
If you put dreads on a Ninja Turtle, it would look like Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird though? Isn't it weird though how like in the original iteration, the original trilogy, the second one is really kind of garbage compared to the first one. But in this one, the second one's actually better than the first one.
I agree with that because it's more, you're going to go off the walls. You might as well bring Krang and all that stuff into it. And that does give it kind of, but Bebop and Rocksteady were great. They were awesome seeing live action in this second out of the
Green Arrow as Casey Jones. Brilliant.
I disagree.
It's one of those things where I think Casey Jones has to have long hair.
I was gonna say
why do you disagree, bastard?
I don't know. Because when I see Casey Jones in the original, he actually feels like a fucking downright rough street kid from New York.
Yeah.
But Steve Amell, I like him as Green Arrow.
Yeah.
But he reminded me way too much of Chris O'Donnell in Batman and Robin. I don't know why.
I don't like the haircut, but I also don't
you're
like
not
how
wrong.
I don't
He's not
like how
wrong.
Casey Jones is like trying to be like a cop. He's trying to help the good guys.
I want to be a
Casey
detective,
Jones
man.
is like a bad guy who's reluctantly like helping the good guys because
Well, that's what
he
we're
works
saying.
better that way.
It's like if you watch the first film, then into the second film, they make like you guys said, some people criticize how big they are, but they're big, they're intimidating. Shredder, okay, he's just like he's kind of goofy sometimes, but he's big, intimidating. They made every character, like even April, doing fight scenes. Like everyone is so big, massive, intimidating. And then Casey Jones, who is the darkest character in Turtles lore, you make him a fucking watered down Stephen Amell.
Well, here's something that's interesting because we were talking about Reacher. He's Raphael, right? What's interesting about the first movies, Raphael, the guy who plays Raphael, he was the only one that was in the suit and did the voice. Well, in these new ones, all actors were in the suit, the mocap suit, and did the voice, except Leo, who was voiced by Johnny Knoxville for some reason.
Yeah.
So anyway, Michael Bay. Let's talk about both of these movies kind of congruently some more. Like I said, just the off the wall wackiness of part 2, Out of the Shadows, was better. And also, like I said, in part 1, they don't do any ninja shit except for end credits. In the post credits, there's like a scene where you see a big billboard of like a bra advertisement, and like the turtles, like 2 of them are like pretending to be the bras, and you see them like the cups, and they just kind of walk off or crawl off the billboard.
I did like the inappropriate humor in the first of these, where they find April's been knocked out, and they're like looking down on her. Yeah, he's like, man, my shell's getting tight.
Even the thing is, like I said, she should be this. Not only is she unattainable, hot babe sister figure, but the main important thing she is the grounded connection the turtles have to the human world. Before April came around, it's like the turtles' only connection to the outside world was from like discarded media that we throw in the sewer.
Yeah,
but
I mean, she's basically the same character she plays in the first 2 Transformers movies, isn't she?
Like we said earlier about Elias Koteas, he is a thespian. He's a good actor, but he's also got this like everyman quality. He's not not attractive. Like the idea that because April O'Neil in the Megan Fox, she's gorgeous. The idea that Casey Jones would be equally attractive is just, now we're getting silly. I mean, I understand hot people just gravitate towards each other, but come on, man. Like, let's have Casey Jones be a Jim Carrey looking motherfucker. So give us regular Joes the hopes that we can bang Megan Fox, like Shia LaBeouf.
I feel really bad for whatever like housewife or mom has fucking has like Googled something to put on for their toddler, like who wants to watch Ninja Turtles something, and she just goes to YouTube
I mark every single one of my videos is not for children. And like Life Size, you guys notice like Life Size, I'm gonna start doing that where like if it's a kids movie, the kids movie, I'm gonna put a big fucking parental advisory thing on the thumbnail. No.
This poor housewife, her kid just wanted to see something about Ninja Turtles, and it's like we're talking about cocks.
This is where it's interesting. Well, this is where it's interesting because, like I was saying earlier, like the idea is this is guys. We're almost at 4 hours. We're at 3 hours and 50 minutes. There's probably only been like 5 minutes of cock jokes, but you have to understand, once a cock joke gets in your stream, the whole stream is filthy and not appropriate for children. All your good, all ages entertainment that we were talking about the Ninja Turtles and stuff, that's irrelevant because we said cock and pussy and cunt and butthole, just now. So I'll try to make a safe for kids highlight video. It'll be one of the only videos I make that's like safe for kids, and I'll bleep out all of my fucking curse words. It'll take me a week to make.
How the hell are you gonna do? How the hell are you gonna do that?
I'll do it tonight. After the stream. That'll be the one highlight I'll make. I'll make a safe.
I would submit to you that as soon as I went to the liquor store and came back on the stream and Meg was on, you knew shit was going sideways.
We're still on the Bay Turtles, guys. We're still on the Bay Turtles.
Hey. Because I don't feel like we are.
But we can get back to the Bay Turtles whenever we want.
He's not
They're
slumming it.
streaming right now.
Actually, I think they might still be streaming. They were doing the Drinker, Mauler, and Dark Hour. Were helping out Cynic do their 100K stream, and I seen this when I was checking up the.
He did say that he might be on one of those streams, and he didn't know. He said he thought he'd be on Open Bar, but he wasn't sure.
Actually, it's right now. It's Little Platoon's channel. They're live right now, of course, with us, and they had Drinker, Mauler, and stuff. And of course, Dark Hour's on right now. So.
Well, damn.
Blue collar.
We should watch that show instead.
I'm gonna do an impression. I'm going to do an impression of that stream. That stream right now. Oh, I quite liked the way that Oppenheimer used the dynamic of the antagonist vis-a-vis the protagonist within that. Meanwhile, on Enzo's stream, turtle cocks are huge. Which turtle would you fuck?
Things I've done like.
Yeah. I mean,
I would love to watch a back-to-back of our stream versus their stream over there.
His mistress was a communist. Mm-hmm. One of his best friends actually passed his own nuclear secrets over to Moscow. And so I was kind of interested to see how much of a victim they made him, given that actual historical backdrop, or if that's in the film at all.
It is everything you just said is in the deposition here.
Okay.
We're doing like our own multiverse. We're doing our own multiverse of bullshit.
Well, I gotta say, the Michael Bay Turtles. I love Tony Shalhoub. I don't really like him very much.
I never like him.
I don't like him as Splinter. I like the Japanese. I like Elmo Splinter best. He's got the best voice. He sounds like he's just had it with everybody. Tony Shalhoub. I don't know. He was doing too much karate. Also, a 99 cheese pizza. What are the 99 cheeses there?
Not my strong hand. So Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles.
Hey, you guys know that the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie, Part 1, is the first time that we actively see a turtle kill somebody?
Oh, shit.
Hell yeah. This is the first movie in which the Turtles willingly kill their opponents. Also, Brett Ratner was in talks to direct the film, which I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Rush Hour.
I think because after Transformers, I love the over the top action, but I will always like how I get they're supposed to be ninjas, they still fight, but just the four of them are so fucking intimidating. Like they
I don't think anyone would fight them. If I was a ninja, I'd be like, no, thank you.
Exactly.
There's four of them too. Like, if there was one of them, I would be like, no, that thing's huge. Four of them? Fuck you. But again, imagine if those same guys were 3 to 4 feet tall, like they were supposed to be in the comics. Then it would be, like, way different. Like, imagine if they were 4 feet tall but had superhuman strength. And you were like, hey, little fucker, get out of here. And then they take you and, like, throw you fucking 10 feet away. You're like, holy shit.
On PCP,
fucking tiny little turtles, man. Look what they would have such a different, like, it'd have like a Three Ninjas vibe almost.
Yeah,
guys, they're these tiny little turtles. Get them. It would be that kind of attitude.
Like an alligator.
The Bay Turtles were the first turtles to be officially bulletproof, which I think is stupid.
Get things off.
The Turtles don't make a fucking appearance in the first Michael Bay movie until 20 minutes and 30 seconds into the film.
I believe it.
You can always tell when we've gone too far. You can always tell when we've gone too far off the rails because Enzo will bust out with some. He's like, "Did you know in 1992 there was a turtle?"
That Michael Bay's TMNT movie was the first TMNT film not to be released in March. Did you guys know that?
That's actually kind of an interesting piece of information.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as Out of the Shadows, I thought it was superior to the other Michael Bay movie. I thought
Agreed.
CGI Shredder looked ridiculous. I thought Krang live action looked pretty cool, and I liked how they kept trying to stuff himself into the belly. That was like a running joke, like he can't fit.
It definitely followed the cartoon a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, go off the rails. Bebop, Rocksteady. Yeah, like you have a bunch of foot soldiers. throw mutagen on them and turn them into fucking humanoid animal subjects.
You know, I feel like at the 4 hour and 25-minute mark, that's when our guy with the 1,000 subscribers is really, really looking at his life choices and like, you know, he's like, you know, I was on the critical.
Hey guys, did you guys learn new things about the Ninja Turtles today? Because I sure fucking did. This has been fun.
The first time I saw a turtle's dick, so.
Now, here we go. Before we get into 2023,
wait, did we have turtle dicks? I didn't see turtle dicks.
Yeah. You weren't here. You weren't here.
Unfortunately, yes.
At this point for 2014, I feel like with technology, mocap and stuff, in terms of live action, this is the most action and fight scenes and choreography that we've seen so far. And I feel like with the 1990 film, the way they move in 2014 is how they wanted to move in 1990, but they couldn't because of technology. So I forgive the plot problems with 2014 because they move so fucking awesome.
But there's also so much stupid shit going on. Like, for instance, like William Fichtner, his name is Eric Sachs, but it's an Americanization of Anglicization. That's what we call it. An Anglicization of Shredder's real name, which is Orokusaki. So Eric Sachs is Orokusaki, you know, because he wasn't actually Shredder. You kind of were assumed that he was going to be Shredder, but he wasn't, which I appreciate. But he's always evil. Poor William Fichtner.
That's true. With Turtles 2014, even though he wasn't directing, he was producing. It still gets accredited to being a Michael Bay film, even though he didn't direct it.
This is a child-friendly stream.
But
It's water, obviously.
Because it's like, even though he's not directing, it shows that producers can have so much of an input, like where they're not directing it, but it still has like that Michael Bay style. It's Mutant Ninja Turtles that with a giant rat and a guy named Shredder. How and Kang is a fucking alien brain with mutant warthogs. How serious am I going to take this shit?
Well, here's the thing. It's funny that you bring that up because we were talking about earlier in Turtles 1, the campfire scene.
Yeah.
And how it has such emotional gravitas. Well, imagine if an entire Ninja Turtles installment had that same fucking weight. That would be the most recent comic book, The Last Ronin, which I just fucking read. And I was blown away by how great it was. The Last Ronin, I mean, it's basically takes place in the future after the Foot have taken over New York, and all the turtles are dead except for one. And it's one turtle who is like on a revenge quest. They kind of keep it a secret because he has all the weapons from all four turtles, and he wears a black bandana and like a purple like cloak, and he's got all this armor.
Yeah,
and
I bet it was Raphael.
No, and that's the thing is they flash back and they talk about it. They kind of spoil it pretty quickly, but basically you reveal it's Michelangelo. He's the last one alive.
I was trying to think that, to be honest. It's because it seems like the less obvious choice.
But what's so great is like it takes place in this like kind of Blade Runner style dystopian future.
Yeah.
Kind of like, again, back to X-Men Days of Future Past. It's kind of like the future parts of that comic series where you've got this Michelangelo, Last Ronin, and he's basically being tormented and / visited by the voices and the hallucinations of his dead brothers, and they all died separately on their own adventures. That's what's kind of cool is you kind of go into the history of how it's very old man Logan, like all the mutants are dead. Yep. Splinter has also died. Splinter and Donatello died together. It's just very sad. And it's just this big revenge quest. But then also April, she's elderly, kind of aged. She comes back and she has a daughter named Casey, who Michelangelo think is Casey back from the dead. But it's like, oh, it's Casey, a different Casey. Casey, a girl Casey. Okay. And very fun. Very good stuff. Very heavy. Very heavy. And just like one of those things where it's like, dude, if you did like a live action or an animated version of this, it would be great. It would be awesome. And the cool thing about The Last Ronin is it was a 5-issue comic book, and it was so popular they couldn't keep it in print. Like it would literally just keep selling out of print. They kept having to reprint it. And so naturally they brought back some kind of prequel show comic book, kind of about how Michelangelo becomes The Last Ronin, which it's like one of those things. Well, look, I'm sure. Look, this is where it's time where we talk about what all these other British folk are talking about. Probably is this Mutant Mayhem movie. Now, who saw it?
No, that's what I was saying.
So Mutant Mayhem. Look, I didn't hate this movie as much as other people did, but I definitely agree that there was like 2 or 3 minor problems that if you had fixed, that would have fixed some major issues. Like,
did you guys watch Blue Collar's review of this movie?
Yes.
Yes, I didn't hate it like Little Mermaid, but I just find it. It's just, to me, it's forgettable. It's like out of anything we've watched, I could go back and watch different versions.
Your kid didn't like it either, did he?
No, he just, like I said, he liked Rise, but I just feel like out of everything I've watched turtle wise, I got nothing out of this. There's just
did you watch Rise on like his recommendation?
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, it's like enough.
The thing is with the turtles, like you can't really do like there were no specific pop culture because like kids were stupid in the 90s. We just had our TV stations, radio stations. We didn't have the internet.
We loved Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice was in part 2, and we were like sold.
Back in the day, like our pop culture references would be like a word like tubular, which means like surfing a tubular wave. But at the same time, it's like the internet is so vast nowadays that these kids, the new turtles, it's like what I didn't like was like the fact that like, okay, Splinter, he's just like a rat who becomes a mutant and he learns karate the same way the turtles do at the same rate.
By watching TV
and the internet and stuff. And it's just like, no, like Splinter has to be some kind of like kung fu master somehow, whether he's a human that turns into a rat or a rat that learned kung fu from a human and turned into a rat, super rat. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. The point is it's got to be sensei. Like, why are you the sensei?
So never really got the sense he was a sensei in that movie.
Nah.
Just a grumpy old Japanese mouse, and that's it.
Oh, wait.
Or Chinese mouse, since Jackie Chan is Chinese.
I gotta say, the animation style, I didn't mind it, although I do agree it was ripping off the Spider-Verse style. I gotta say, it wasn't like too hard to follow. I definitely found some of the action scenes to be kind of well done. And I gotta say, like the movie, when it starts, up until April O'Neil shows up, it's good. Like, there's a great scene where, like, okay, so we got Baxter Stockholm getting raided by some kind of, like, SWAT guys with mutant guns, anti-mutagen guns that can demutant people. And there's, like, a fly-type creature that attacks them. Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
A word.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, I don't know. Then it cuts to, like, several years later, and you've got the turtles, like, hopping over the buildings, like, doing their thing. And the music is like the score I loved, and I hated the soundtrack. I don't know other movies that I can think of that did that, but like the original music with like the intense, like boom, 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 and they're all hopping around the buildings, and then they all show up and they all got their classic like comic book look with their white eyes, and they all look fierce and intense. And they're like, all right, guys, here's the mission. We're going to, get well, I don't remember what the shopping ingredient was. It was like carrots or something. What was it? Do you remember?
I'll also break down the fact that these kids, they are getting supplies. They're robbing people blind. So, blue collar workers, it's good to know that you guys are constantly robbing stores.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, it's like once they cut to the shopping cart, it's like all of a sudden the shopping list, all of a sudden they're not all heroic looking. All of a sudden they look all meekly and childish, and they look like little teenagers like we see before us, and they all got their regular pupils. They're black little, and all of a sudden it's like kind of a shell shock. And like, okay, I like that. But like I said, there was a specific point right before April shows up where it starts to be like, what the hell's happening? And then once April shows up, it's like, okay, just solid downhill for a while, because April shows up and she's like, the kids are just like, breaking protocol, playing with their ninja stars and stuff up on top of a building without permission, which is
$1.
yeah, but that doesn't feel like something the Ninja Turtles should be doing. And yeah, they accidentally throw a ninja star into April's helmet, and she has a fit. And she's like cursing out these random individuals on top of a building. And then someone steals her Vespa. And the turtles, specifically Leonardo, who is for some reason smitten by this April O'Neil character, I don't know. He insists that they go save her because she's, quote, what are the words? Beautiful and charming?
Yes, I when he called April beautiful, I kind of threw up a little bit. Like,
I must save this woman who is beautiful and charming.
That's the point. That's that whole modern 2023 body positivity shit. If like, okay, Leonardo, if you see Megan Fox and damn, she's beautiful, you can understand Megan Fox wearing a low cut shirt and a belly shirt. Okay, when you see a fat, out of shape, disgusting, buck teeth April O'Neil with glasses on, like, beautiful. What?
So my
Correct.
problem with
right.
Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Oh my God.
Saw that on Yellow Flash as well. It's
Is once April
He has
shows
to cut
up,
that out now so he doesn't get
once April shows up, it just kind of goes off the rails because not only is she hideous and Leo's like for some reason inexplicably attracted to her.
This picture, by the way.
These are earlier drafts of April O'Neil. Obviously, the most important part is that she wears a yellow top. That's the most important thing that they retain from the other ones. And here is the artist.
Is that the most important thing, or is the most important thing that she looks like a pear that's been left out in the sun for too long?
Well, like the second middle iteration, it's like, all right, I don't mind this as much, but this shit, this looks like a man, a homeless man.
Why is the point now to make everything uglier? Like,
here's the problem.
Exactly.
Here's the
like
problem. As a character as a character design, you know, someone who studied character design, the first thing you want is all characters to be black silhouettes on a white background, and you want them to stand out from each other. So the four turtles, they kind of do this. April looks like a fifth turtle. Okay. Right. But then furthermore, once you have the blackout silhouettes all pretty different, then you can add the colors. And this is why April wears yellow, because she stands out visually from these turtles. But it doesn't need to happen in movies, especially, I mean, like I said, like if you're going to change everything about her, but just keep her yellow fucking jacket, yellow jumpsuit, then it's like, I mean, sometimes it works, like with Batman. Like I said earlier, if you take away Batman's ears or his cape, he's not Batman.
Well, their masks are also not differential enough. Like if you look at the center two, it's like one's supposed to be red and one orange. You can't really tell the difference. Then the other, the problem with like purple and blue, but they look the same.
The problem with this movie was the lighting. Everything was passed through this like vomit green filter, and all the highlight colors are yellow instead of white.
Oh. Speaking about April and vomiting, that scene was just unnecessary. Like,
April vomits. No, April literally vomits a huge projectile vomit, not once, but twice in this movie.
Yeah.
Because
for a while at all.
We said this earlier, but the most important thing about, like I said, Batman, you know, he's got to have his cape in his ears or he's not Batman. Otherwise, he's just vigilante guy. April O'Neil, her yellow jacket isn't that important, but what is important is that she's a fucking news reporter. And what's so weird, I do appreciate the fact that these are young teenagers. Instead of 19-year-old Ninja Turtles, we have like 13-year-old Ninja Turtles. But what's weird is fucking April O'Neil is also in high school, and she's an aspiring news reporter. What I don't understand, like, again, Donatello, he's always got to be the tech kid. He's the one with the flashlights and the headphones and the sun and the glasses. But
he's the Blue Ranger.
What's so shocking is I didn't realize this until the end of the movie, but Michelangelo has braces.
Yes.
That was something that literally took me out of the movie. So imagine, I said this on Twitter, like, here's my problem. My problem is in the fact that April is fat and black. Like, I don't care that she's black. She's been black before. It's cool. I don't care that she's fat, except it is lousy character design because she doesn't stand out on a silhouette standout from a character design point of view. When it's an animated movie, you have no excuse. But here's the thing. The biggest problem is the character motivations. Now, like I said on Twitter, imagine if Lois Lane was telling Superman what to do, who to save.
Right.
And She was writing her little reporting articles, pretending she didn't fucking know who Superman was, let alone she was dating him and putting him up to it. Okay? Now also imagine that she's not even a reporter. She's a high schooler with aspirations to become a reporter, and she's using Superman to further her career. Like, it's just like, the heroics should be there are people in trouble and we need to save them. And it's that simple. This idea like, oh, we're going to garner the Ninja Turtles. We're going to garner public favor for you by
You're going to save the ones
out,
who further my career.
You're going to save these people, and I'm going to do like a Peter Parker type thing where I'm going to be like on the scene to document it, and I'm going to reap all the benefits. And also, it'll make people less afraid of you. It's like, how about just save people and people will love you regardless, you know? April O'Neil, she looks hideous, but to be fair, every fucking character in this movie is disgusting. Now, the humans are mutants, and all the mutants are atrocious. Now, there's nothing wrong with every character being a disgusting, like, it has this Ren and Stimpy vibe, where everything is just gross looking and sickly and icky, and that's not a big problem. But if you had just made April a smoking babe, she would be at least one decent thing to look at in the movie, and also it would make sense why all four turtles are like hypnotized by her and kind of do all this weird shit at her whim, because she's fucking hot. If she's just some random penguin-shaped teenager and not like Megan Fox,
what's
adult.
her spell over them?
Yeah. Like I said, she's supposed to be unattainably hot, stepsister quality, but also connection to the real world. And in this new
Like
one,
Velma.
she's none of those things. I thought the Spider-Verse movies looked less claymation as opposed to this one. This one looks straight up claymation. But the problem is, if I were to show you like still frames of this movie, I don't think you would think it's too much like Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
But if you saw it in motion, you're like definitely ripping off Spider-Verse, you know?
Yeah,
Pick
probably
your
the
fighter.
1990 version.
Like it's Mortal Kombat. Pick your fighter.
1990, come on. It's still the best one.
1990?
Yeah, I agree with that one.
It's still the best
like
one.
it.
But as far as like Mutant Mayhem, like things I did like, for instance, I'm a sucker for Daikaiju action, you know, giant monsters destroying a city. And this was the only Ninja Turtles movie that had that going. And like the mutants that were supposed to be gross, they looked gross and it was good. But like I said, when every human being is also like looks like a Men in Black character, it had this like, remember the Men in Black cartoon and also the early Men in Black movies? It had this very like Ren and Stimpy, like everything's gross and grimy, which I didn't mind, but I could see other people like not liking that. It's not visually appealing. It's sickly.
I hate to like beat a dead horse, but when you guys look at these four turtles, can you tell any color difference between the two red color masks and the two
or the
purple
blue
color
and the
masks?
purple? Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell any difference whatsoever?
No, exactly. Like everything is washed
They're
through a yellow filter.
indistinguishable.
Everything's washed through a yellow filter. Because there's like a whole gang of mutants that are the bad guys, and they're led by Superfly, voiced by Ice Cube, who was the highlight of the movie. If you're going to see the movie, it's worth seeing Ice Cube playing this villain who's a gigantic mutant fly leading this huge band of other mutant animals. And of course the turtles find out about him, and it's like, oh yeah, you should hang out with us. But like every other mutant is so distinct and disgusting and designed originally. And like these turtles, like, I mean, I don't know, not enough going on visually.
I also I'm not okay with Splinter f***ing a cockroach. Like
yeah. Okay, so what I did like Jackie Chan as Splinter. Jackie Chan as Splinter was great. He had this Asian accent, and he had this like elderly like father, like he was a loving, supporting father who was just kind of like. They talked about how like Splinter is terrible in this one because he hates humans, but it's like, dude, every rat hates humans. You know, and the idea of a giant rat, like it's like Ratatouille. Like, I went up to the surface once and they hated us, so we live in the sewers.
I do admit, Splinter at this entire film, there's a 2-minute sequence, just 1 2-minute sequence where Splinter has a fight scene. That one fight scene is fucking fantastic. I will give them that. That one,
a human-sized rat would be terrifying.
They're taking their blood just like they did in 2014.
No, and again, but at least they didn't call it milk.
Dude, that
in the old ones, because in this new one they keep saying milking the turtles, and like you said before many times, it's like you could have said that joke once and that would have been great.
Yeah,
but like
I
every
don't
other
like that.
Seth Rogen is one of those motherfuckers where he likes to hammer his jokes.
Dude,
he likes to say a joke once that's funny and say it 10 times.
Gross.
Turtles don't have nipples. Like, this is great for a 6-year-old. Okay.
I mean, I guess the idea is like we don't want to talk about blood.
Do you think that's what that you can't milk a bull, but people do?
Yeah, but
I thought it was
previously
one
they don't have
no, but
nipples.
listen. In all the other movies we talked about, the mutagen is in the turtle blood, but it could be very possible that they're like, oh, well, we can't say blood too much, so let's just say milk.
Wow.
And that's like less offensive, even though actually in hindsight, no, it isn't. But yeah, as far as like Ninja Turtles.
You guys, like I said, it's been like 6 hours. We should end it and just hang out after this. Because
No. We got 8 minutes till 6 hours, and
all right.
Final
For
thoughts
8
on
minutes,
Mutant Mayhem.
You guys be serious, and I'll shut the up. I
Yeah,
don't
final
know what I'm
thoughts on
talking
Mutant Mayhem. I will say I like the soundtrack, the score anyway. I hated the soundtrack. I liked Ice Cube. I like the mutants. I hated the humans. It sounds like Toxic is building a bomb. Or something. Tucking
signed an NDA, okay?
It sounds like he's trying to tuck a cat. It sounds like he's trying to hide a cat in a filing cabinet.
And hide his guns. FBI. CIA is on the team, man.
All right. Final thoughts on Mutant Mayhem. Go around, everybody. I don't care.
Like I just said, if instead of watching this, go watch a different version. There's better movies out there to watch. It's just this is forgettable. So,
what did you think, Bastard? I mean, you actually watched it.
Yeah. Did
you hate it as much as everyone else?
I don't hate it as much as I thought I would, but it's still a bit of a fucking. It's still 10 steps down from all the others.
I was smitten by some of the action sequences, especially like I said, I'm a sucker for. I can't wait to see a monster destroy a city. And anytime I see that happen in a movie, like a giant monster terrorizing buildings, I'm like, yes. And seeing like Ice Cube's spoilers, Ice Cube is a mutant fly. He gets mutated further with a whale, and then he fucking goes off to the coast and jumps in the island and goes to the zoo and gets mutated with all the other animals. And he becomes like a giant Cronenberg monster of animals. And he's like destroying the city, like shouting rap lyrics. No, not rap lyrics, soul funk music lyrics.
There's that's way better.
He keeps quoting.
Legitimately, it is.
So his name is Superfly. He's a giant fly, and he keeps quoting soul songs. He says, like, there's a part where they all say, hey, man, we don't want to kill all the humans. And all of his friends are like, betraying him, and he's like, they smile at your face all the while they want to take your place. But yeah, the thing is, like, modern kids will listen to modern bullshit, which is why the 90s Turtles will always be superior, because they had stupider but yet more wholesome pop culture to draw from. And like I said, the big problem with the Turtles in this movie is their motivations are tainted. They're not their motivations aren't plain heroics. Their motivations are like a dastardly deed to trick people to like us because of their heroics. And it's like
also,
stupid.
The visuals just aren't like flooring. I mean, let's be real. Looking at this picture, like it's not about the culture, the message. It's like the visuals just aren't that good. No, that you can be a part of it.
Well, it's funny because we've got the 4 Turtles plus the 5th. I guess you'd be April, Meg.
There we go.
And then
just because I'm a woman, can't I be Splinter?
No.
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 Hell no. If anything, you could be the woman.
If I'm
going
to be April, I'm not going to be the fat black April. Okay?
You could be the woman turtle, if anything. But anyway,
the
idea is the
cartoon April.
Toxic is definitely Raph.
For sure.
I would say English. He's going to be. What did you say? I mean, me, English, and Chris. I mean, I think I'm Mike.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, you're definitely Mike.
You're definitely up there.
So we'd give Bastard Donatello, and Chris would give
Chris is Leonardo for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I'll still take Donatello though.
Well, of course, Donatello's the brains, man. He's the gadget
Chris,
master.
I love that you wore a turtle shirt for today.
I know. I had a green Parker on. It's the only green thing I had.
Didn't even ask him to do it. All right, guys. Well.
I bought this too. So.
Look, guys, we're at 5 hours and 59 minutes and 53 seconds. So, look,
guys, way to show some commitment.
Thanks for having me on. And I will see you next time.
Guys, look, here's what's happening. Ninja Turtles, it's a thing. It's a big thing. It's bigger than any of us ever fucking imagined. There's arcade games, comic books, action figures, toys. There's half a dozen movies. I didn't even know most of them existed. And there's fucking hundreds of hours of a fucking stupid cartoon show that spans over 3 series and fucking 17 seasons. All stuff is going to be bleeped out for the child-friendly highlight video. But I plan to make that tonight for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stream. I mean, guys, you have to understand. You're 2 guys, 2 stoners, making a comic book in your basement, and you have no idea you are going to affect the history of the world forever with your stupid comic book about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Guys, Peter Eastman and Laird, I don't even know their first names. They're legends. Doesn't matter. Even long after they're dead, we will be remembering this. And, yeah. I enjoy having fun with you guys talking about stupid Ninja Turtles. Anyway, guys, Ninja! Vanish!